live. We have Washington in the background because that's the subject of a lot of our reporting tonight, and discussion. But in fact, we are in Palm Beach, Florida. Today or yesterday, the president of Argentina released a declassified report on the full history of Joseph Mengele. Joseph Mengele was known as the Angel of Death. He was a surgeon, a doctor who became very involved with Hitler. Eventually, he was assigned to Auschwitz and then some of the camps, and he conducted absolutely barbaric experiments on the people who were in the concentration camp, Jewish and others. He was called the Angel of Death, of course, as a sarcastic, I guess, or dark humor. The reality is he selected the first people for the gas chambers. He helped devise the gas chambers. But beyond that, he would do experiments that you don't even want to repeat with people as if they weren't human. Now, the worst part of it is because of his connections with the SS, he was able to get himself to the southern part of Germany toward the end of the war when Hitler was being killed. And he got off to Argentina, and Argentina protected him. Now, he had to move around a bit. He was in Argentina. He was in several other. He was in Paraguay. He was granted citizenship in Paraguay, and then he eventually died swimming. And I think he died in Brazil. So those three South American countries gave refuge to him. And despite all of the absolutely, except for him, almost flawless Nazi hunting of Simon Wiesenthal, the Mossad, the American Special Investigations Unit that I worked with on two expeditions, and they were excellent. This guy avoided detection, but he actually didn't really. He was actually a very, very kind doctor who took care of everyone, according to these neo-Nazis we have now. I guess, right? I guess Nick Fuentes has a very different view of Dr. Mengele, and if you'd like to listen to his view, go on my subscription channel, and we have the first part.
We do.
Of there. There's enough in the first part to have you see that this man is in love with Adolf Hitler, and is a real danger to not just the Republican Party. He's a real danger to the Jewish people. He's a real danger to the United States. There are times you can go too far. He has gone way too far. The historical evidence of the existence of the Holocaust and the barbarity of it and the depths of it hasn't even been really fully exposed. I've seen some of the actual real records and the cases that I handled for Nazi concentration camp commanders who I prosecuted. Nobody's making this up. Nobody's exaggerating it. And just because of your sick hatred of the Jewish people, people like Fuentes try to get people to deny it and try to perpetuate this 2,000-year hatred and also the disgusting blood libel that is absolutely insane if you think about it. The idea that because a mob of Jewish citizens, not the entire Jewish community, because a mob of Jewish citizens said, let his blood be on our hands and our children, that was passed down to their children, and then from their children to their children for 2,000 years. So to actually accept that and then go out and kill people, as they did in Poland and other places, pogroms, you really have to believe in witchcraft, don't you?
Yeah.
You have to believe that if I say, let his blood be on my hands and my children, it's actually on my children's hands, and then their children, and their children. And because of that, you're allowed to go kill them. So who is the sick son of a bitch then?
Right.
And that is exactly what would happen on Palm Sunday and Good Friday in a lot of Eastern Europe when the St. Matthew gospel was read. And that statement was made, everybody had run out and go kill Jewish people. And they kind of didn't stay around for the bigger message. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Love your enemies. That's the bigger message of Christianity, isn't it? And and the other is witchcraft.
Right.
Well, Mengele is, I'm glad he put out those. I'm glad he put out those records. It's really interesting, but I don't know how much Zelensky is involved in this corruption. I have my own. Let me say, I'm not going to give you an opinion of how much he's involved in this corruption. I just know too much about Zelensky. I do think this is a terrible time for it to come up, and it should have come up a long time ago. It's been there from the beginning. I mean, I met the guy, Yermak, who resigned. I met with in Spain to talk about all of this, and I saw Yermak is a pretty straight guy when I met with him. But then, as time went on, and I realized they were going to cover up all of the Biden shit, I said, these aren't honest people. That I couldn't have taken over a government in which my predecessor took about $100 million in bribes that he still had that I could recover for the good of my people, where my predecessor took bribes from the second-ranking highest official in the United States government. I could not let that go undisclosed and not prosecuted so that it never happened again. You got to be a basic thief and bum to do that, which is why I never understood what this little guy was doing anyway in charge of this. And that there's no doubt that some of that money was not going to make its way to the front lines. And that maybe if all of it did, they'd had a better result. I don't know. But who's he cheating? He's cheating his own people. It makes him he's a patriot. And all of Europe is like bowing down to him. And hundreds of millions are not getting to the lines. That's what happens when there's graft like this. And this is why they ran out of equipment. He could have funded about 3 or 4 months of the war by just getting back the money Poroshenko stole. He would have known how to do it. He could have taken the guy that was the biggest money launderer in Ukraine and done reverse money laundering for him.
Yeah. The
guy was his patron, almost like his father. Made him a rich man. Well, in any event, it is a shame that it came up now. It should have come up earlier. It has no bearing on Putin's entitlement or right to have any part of Ukraine the way he took it, or the consequences of what will happen if we give Putin what he wants now. And what he wants now is he wants, as a benefit of the war, a situation that's better for him in terms of being able to conquer Ukraine than it was before the war. Well, by the mere fact that he has this territory, in some ways that's correct. But he wants more than that. He wants some of the territory he hasn't been able to take, because some of that territory has fortifications that make it difficult for him to invade Ukraine. So he couldn't defeat them on the battlefield in order to get those. So he wants those. He wants Ukraine to half its army, down to 600,000. He wants them to get rid of all of their effective missiles. He doesn't want any foreign troops there of any kind, no NATO, no foreign troops. So what he really is doing is he wants the base cleaned up a little so he can more easily defeat them. It's as clear as the nose on your face. I don't know. I mean, I guess Steve is much more of a gentleman than I am and sort of deals with this, okay, well, that's very well, let's look at this. I mean, I think I told him like I once did when I was negotiating for MEK to basically stuff it. You're not going to get this. What do you think? We're crazy.
Right.
You don't really want to, you don't want to have war any more than we do. So why don't you come up with something realistic? Don't make a jerk out of me.
Right.
You're making a jerk out of me with this proposal. This is not a proposal to enter war. This is a proposal for complete victory. Well, I don't know. So I don't know how much Ukraine has been able to impress on Rubio, Witkoff, and Jarrett what they're going to need in order to come to an agreement, what they're going to need back from those 28 points. It's going to be very, very hard for them to give up Donbass. But it sounds like that might be the key point. Now, giving back Donbass becomes a little bit more palatable if your army is at a sufficient level to protect yourself. You have the ability to expand that army quickly and without any interference if there's any hint of an invasion, that you're allowed to join NATO, and that should be a decision left to you as a sovereign country and the other sovereign countries that are part of NATO. Russia doesn't run NATO and shouldn't be allowed to run NATO. That we should insist on for our own benefit. So I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell where the breaking point is for Russia. I think if they can get some of what they want, which you're not going to get with war, except with a couple more years of fighting, and that's always volatile. Something could happen, or they might take half a loaf because it'll whatever they take, they'll be in a better position than they were going in. I mean, if they don't get a reduction in the army and they don't get a situation on NATO, but they do get Donbass, they've got themselves in a great spot to march right toward Kiev, which they didn't have before, and aren't going to have, I don't think, no matter how much they fight. Now, Europe, I don't know if this is I don't know if this is a tactical thing or not, but Europe has put out a statement saying that it's going to cost them less money to fund. It's going to cost them less money to fund Ukraine 2-3 more years of war, which might be enough to beat Russia, because they think the Trump administration's out of touch with the real situation, than it will be to agree. Because if they agree, they're going to be dealing with millions of refugees, which are going to cost them a fortune. They're going to have to increase their fortifications dramatically, even more than they're intending to. And even at this point now, it's becoming very difficult for them to get to where they have to be. And that they'd be better off by pouring in, what are they talking about? Something like 960 billion, between 606 billion and 972 billion a year. But it would cost them about double that if this agreement is reached, in order to take care of the refugees, in order to build the fortifications necessary, put together the programs that are going to be necessary. So 4 more years of war, which also gives you the chance of winning. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a real position or that's a negotiating position. But I do know the Europeans are less inclined to give up than we are. We tend to be more on the Russian side than the Europeans are, which is kind of really unusual and very disturbing to me.
Right.
What happened in Stockton, California, I don't know. I guess it could happen anywhere. 4 people are dead, 11 are injured, at least, right? They don't have a full count yet, but the deceased are 8 years old, 9 years old, 14 years old, and 21 years old. About 150 people were attending a family gathering. And this guy just drove into it.
Wow.
And killed him. I don't think they've arrested him yet. I don't think they've arrested him yet. Is that right?
Right. That's right.
Nor do they have any real good, solid information about his, or have they come up with some?
Not yet.
Then on Friday, 3 people were shot and injured in San Jose Mall after a gang-motivated dispute turned violent. Doing a good job there, Governor. Where were you? At the top of the Sky Hotel, Motel or whatever hotel.
French Laundry restaurant.
Yeah. You know, everybody's all concerned. They're doing everything they can to make the economy look bad because Trump is the president. You want a long-term statistic that's really phenomenal?
Yeah.
Okay. In 1929, your great-grandfathers and grandmothers and whatever, right? Spent 23.4% of their after-tax disposable income buying food.
How much?
23.4%.
Okay.
Do you know how much we spend?
On food?
Percentage as the percentage of our earnings.
I guess people eat out more, maybe 35%.
We spend 4.9%.
Oh, wow. Oh,
and
nothing.
And we spend 5.5% eating at home, away.
Okay.
So let's make it 10%.
Okay. Wow.
I guess they didn't really count eating out then, so we don't have a comparison. But it was 23.4%.
That's amazing.
And the others, and now it's 10% split up with a slight. We spend a little bit more on restaurants than we do eating at home.
Wow.
So the idea that our cost of living over the long haul has gotten much worse, and our quality of life much worse, it's really kind of crazy. And should we take a short break before we get to Ali Reza?
Yeah, we can take a short break.
We'll cover up we'll cover a couple more things too.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org. This is Rudy Giuliani back with America's Mayor Live. Of course, all weekend we were consumed with the shooting in Washington, D.C. Terrible, 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 terrible shooting. It is obvious that we have an Islamic extremist murderer, killing in the name of Muhammad, in the name of Allah Akbar, in the name of Allah, the God of the Muslims, a God that is invoked any number of times while the act of murder is being done, which is something that I don't think is common for a religion. And I also think it is about time that instead of just accepting that the Muslim religion is a normal thing that we should just accept as if it were the Jewish religion or the Christian religion or the Buddhist religion. I think we're endangering ourselves tremendously by not being honest and courageous and dealing with the truth. The Muslim religion is not the same as the other religions. It is not a religion primarily of peace. It is a religion primarily of war. It was spread by war. Most of the gains made in the early spread of the Muslim religion were done by armies, and they were done by murder, and they were done by extortion, they were done by torture, they were done by mass graves and mass killings. The idea that violence is acceptable for the purposes of conversion is it's just a natural part of the religion. That's what Muhammad did. Muhammad didn't preach and convert. Muhammad did try to preach, and nobody listened to him. They only listened to him when he killed them and required them to become Muslim. That's true on the Arab Peninsula. It's true when he went across to Persia, and they didn't want to be Muslims. They wanted to remain Zoroastrians. He didn't want them to remain Zoroastrians, or his successor didn't, and they captured them and killed them. And they did not one of the first, but one of the major genocides in early history, and that is to wipe out of Zoroastrian people. And the Persian people all were forced to become Muslims. Now they did. That did exacerbate the Sunni Shiite fission between the two. So they were hardly a united force until recently. And then all throughout the centuries, they've been a religion of murder. Murder first and talk later. This is not a religion that has a long history of missionaries going out and preaching. You know, they didn't have the missionaries that went up and down the west coast of the United States and built San Diego and San Francisco and Los Angeles and San Bernardino. Those were all Franciscan missionaries who did that, or the Protestant missionaries who came to the Massachusetts Bay Colony and Virginia and established a country with a very deep-seated religion, belief in God. They didn't kill people. They trained people in the religion if they wanted to, but they didn't kill them if they didn't accept the religion. We're not talking here about occasional killings by maniacal Muslims. This was the religion. This is the way you spread it, by jihad, by fighting, by killing. You won over another group. You went into a Jewish village. You wanted the olive groves because they were really very, very impressive and made a lot of money. So they were going to be hard to take. So you got the elders of the village, you line them up and you kill them. And then the village becomes yours. Kind of like what Carl Linus did, who I prosecuted for being the head of a concentration camp in Tartu, Finland. Now, he kept real good control of his camp because every once in a while he'd take a group of prisoners and take them out to a property that he had nearby, let them stay there for a night or two, deciding who was going to be killed, and then bring them back to an area near the camp where they dug a hole, big hole. And then they had mass killings of the Jews. And Carl, wanting to show what a tough guy he was, participated in it, putting bullets in their brains. When he went to trial in New York years later, because he was not like Mengele, one who escaped it, his lawyer said, well, when he was writing to Berlin and explaining these murders, he exaggerated the number so that he could have preferment within the SS. Judge said something I don't exactly recall. So would you expect me to give him credit for that? It gives you an idea of how crazy they can get. I rewatched last night because I'm working on this podcast about anti-Semitism, about Jewish hatred, and about the scourge of it for so many centuries, because it really, really does affect me a lot. And so much of it is so easy to just discard and refute. I mean, how do you blame people today for something that people 2,000 years ago did? I mean, if even you'll see on my podcast, you'll hear some of Fuente's followers, I think, Ted. We were just editing that part. It's going to come out. Maybe that's going to come out tonight or tomorrow. And that's the one where his people, sounding like young Nazis, are yelling, "Christ kill us, Christ kill us, Christ kill us, Christ kill us, Christ kill us." There's no one alive today who killed Christ.
Right.
Now, are you crazy? I mean, just think about that. I know maybe those people in Eastern Europe in these Polish villages or Czech villages or you name it, and don't get upset. That's what they did. Or German villages. When they got to Good Friday and they read that paragraph from Matthew, the Matthew paragraph is the most, the starkest of them. I have to say, the Matthew Passion, to me, as a passion, is the best. Now, that may be because Bach's oratorio, the Matthew Passion, is the best. Although there are people who prefer the John Passion.
Yeah.
And if we were closer to Easter, I'd give you an analysis of both of them and the pros and the cons. But we'll save that little time that I have. We'll save that for talking about. We'll save that for Christmas. But yeah. Here's Matthew. Matthew chapter 27, verse 24. So when Pilate saw that he could do nothing, but rather that a riot was beginning, he took some water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I'm innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves." Then the people as a whole answered, "His blood be on us and on our children." So he released Barabbas for them, and after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. So when they say the Jews killed Jesus, the answer is the Romans killed Jesus with encouragement from the Jews. Well, that's a fact. Okay. But now how does that pass on to any other Jew other than one who was there? because despite their ridiculous comment that the blood be on us and our children, exactly how do they pass it on to their children? And then how do they pass it on in some unbroken chain to the Jewish guy that's getting beaten up in Brooklyn during the pogrom in Brooklyn in 1993 because you're a Jew, you're a Christ killer, bang, bang, smash, smash. 2,000 years ago, somebody that identified as a Jew took responsibility for it and then decided he could pass it on to his children. What are you, some kind of sorcerer? I mean, that's witchcraft. The wrongdoer, the murderer, the violent criminal is the one beating up the Jewish person. And it of course, baffles you, because if you just spend a little more time reading Matthew instead of running out of the church the way they did in these little villages and beat up all the Jewish people in town, if they just stay a little longer, they would have heard the real message, the message that changed the world of that gospel. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. As he was going through writhing pain. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But they decide to create a blood libel, which has no basis in anything, and ignore, if not the most important, one of the 2 or 3 most important teachings of the founder of their religion.
Right.
Love. You know, it comes down to 2 commandments. So you want to make it simple, right? Love God with your heart and soul, and love others as you would want yourself to be loved. You say you can take all the laws and the commandments and all the rules and all the bowing and the scraping and the wearing and the this and the that and the candles and the this, and here's real simple: love the Lord thy God and love his people. When you see one, the least of them, see me. Profound message. A beautiful message. A message from God. Or one would have to say a great man, right? What's Muhammad's message? And it's not the message that was understood by the people in Eastern Europe and Germany and whatever that ran out and killed the Jewish people when they heard that gospel, or the ones who yell Christ killers. Like I grew up, I had that yelled at me playing with Jewish kids. And if you listen to the podcast, you see what my mother did about it. So,
unknown caller.
Well, I have to tell you, I don't answer unknown calls.
Well, Mayor, on that note, we have a special guest.
Okay.
We haven't had him on in a while. Our good friend.
Oh my goodness, we haven't. I miss him. He looks the same. He looks very handsome, as he always does. But we have a strange question for him, don't we?
Hi, Mayor. How are you doing?
How are you, my good friend?
Great seeing you. You're always in good health, good spirit, the fighting spirit.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And your spirit is very contagious, Mayor.
Oh, really?
Yes. You spread that fighting spirit to everyone, not just here in the United States, everywhere.
Good.
That
we're going to need it
stand up.
because we got a couple of things to accomplish. So, what is going on in Iran? There's a whole situation that's going on. It doesn't seem like it's being reported the way it should. Well, you tell us about it, and then we can comment on it.
Sure, definitely. First of all, nothing is going well for the Ayatollahs ruling Iran. Their mismanagement, their corruption, their decades of wasting the Iranian people's resources is showing itself big time. There's water shortages everywhere, problem with the electricity, the pollution. One of the officials of the regime says that the pollution is killing 50,000 people annually. And they're increasing the prices of gasoline on the population. The high-end gasoline super premium is increased 6 times. This is a gradual step they're taking to put more pressure, economic burden on the Iranian population. There's a lot of infighting going within the regime. When nothing goes right, they start fighting each other. And the regime is afraid of its own population. That's why they have increased the number of executions. Over 2,000 have been executed just this year. It's a rate of 1 execution every 2-3 hours. It's never been this high the past 2-3 decades. These are all indications of a regime that is so vulnerable, so paranoid and afraid of its own population. Now, the only good thing has been going on has been the good news about the Iranian opposition, those standing up to the regime. We just had a major convention right here in Washington just a few days ago, where 1,000 people came from various strata of Iran, scholars, the young people, women activists, academics, and they all had one message, and that is change is reachable, and the Iranian people can overthrow this regime. There is an alternative to the Ayatollahs, and they're not asking for money or arms. They just need to be recognized for their capability and intent. So that's, just a quick sum up of what was going on in the past couple of weeks.
It's interesting. Something like this can create a great disturbance because things are very tense anyway, right?
Absolutely. The regime is entirely focused on our movement, because they know this is the movement for change. There are 17 members or associates of the main opposition, the MEK, who are now on death row. Just a few days ago, they put another woman, Zahra Tabari, sentenced her to death only because of her commitment and association with the movement, because only she appeared during the protests and chanted the slogan, women, resistance, freedom. And that's a big no for the Ayatollahs. They're afraid of the word resistance against the regime, and they're afraid of the movement that is striving for change.
So women too.
It's pardon me?
Because I mean, the MEK, I think day by day, Madam Rajavi becomes a bigger and bigger force for them. Although, the reality is, I don't know if that's true. She's always been a big force for them. I think they're realizing she's becoming a big force outside of Iran now, which they've always been able to control through their propaganda and their bribery and their corruption. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think her stature in Iran has grown, but it's always been very high. From the time I met you, it was very, very high.
Yes.
The issue was always getting the West to see that.
Right.
And it was because they are almost as effective as the Chinese in their intelligence operation. I mean, they really are. They do miracles with their intelligence operation. And I think lately we've been able to crack through it, and people are starting to see that there's an alternative. And Madam Rajavi has made more appearances, and every time she appears, she wins people over because they realize what a good woman she is, and how she's one of us. By one of us, I mean she's a lover of freedom and a respecter of human rights, and just a darn decent human being, and a very courageous one. That's what you need. That's really what you need.
Exactly, Mayor. The important thing is that, Mrs. Rajavi has been striving for freedom for decades and gone through a lot of ups and downs, a lot of difficult tasks, being a woman leading the fight against the most misogynist regime on the face of the earth and in our history. She has made tremendous progress, and especially the younger generation, both inside Iran but also outside of Iran. We had a large representation of the young people here, many of them who were actually born in the United States, and they said, you know, they see their future in this movement, in her 10-point platform, because with the Ayatollahs, there's absolutely no future, no present and no future for the younger generation. The regime, as you said, has stepped up propaganda and misinformation against the movement. You know, recently Twitter or X came up with this new capability that allowing for the users to find out about each account, where they are based and what internet system they use. A lot of the accounts that were under different names and apparently operating outside of Iran, it became very clear once this ability by Twitter became known that they were all based in Iran, and they were using the regime's own internet system, only allowed for the government institutions, making it very clear that those who operated under the fake status of like opposition figures, or those who were praising the son of the Shah, Reza Pahlavi, they were all based in Iran, most probably at the Ammar garrison run by the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, 24/7 attacking our movement, attacking Mrs. Rajavi, attacking those who are fighting for freedom under different names. And it all became very clear. It was all run and operated by the Revolutionary Guards and the Minister of Intelligence. Why would you do that? Well, this is an act of desperation. They resort to propaganda against their opposition, but none of that is working, Mayor. As you said, people can see through, the smoke screen and see the facts, see that this movement has been most instrumental in acting as engine for the protests during the protests, the uprisings in Iran. This is the most effective movement that exposed all the major nuclear sites of Iran, has been the main victim of the regime's killings inside Iran and their terrorism outside of the country, has offered an alternative, a 10-point platform for the future of Iran, and made it very clear, Mrs. Rajavi, that the transition is going to be peaceful after the fall of the Ayatollahs. There's mechanism, everything is defined, and the power is going to be turned over to the elected representatives of the people.
I'm looking forward to having you and Farzin on together when that happens. And I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I'm going to ask you to see if we can get Madam Rajavi on, even if we tape it, to give a Christmas message to us.
I will definitely relay that message.
Because one of the things that she will do for Iran is have freedom of religion. So people can be Muslim, people can be Christian, they can be Catholic or Protestant or whatever version of Christian they want to be. They can be Jewish, they can be Buddhist, they can be what are the other
non-believers?
Whatever religion. They just can't be a make-believe religion that wants to kill people or something. So her program is simple. It's freedom of religion, freedom for women, because that is a very big issue in Iran in particular. Some of the Arab countries are loosening up on that. Even in Saudi Arabia, they're loosening up on it somewhat. But they crack down at the worst times, like the woman with the hair showing. They killed her. My goodness, I mean, it's terrible. So
absolutely, Mayor. Definitely, I mean, those two issues you touch upon, Mayor, freedom of religion, separation of religion and state, is huge, because over 90% of the Iranian population are Muslim. but she says that the future government would not have an official religion. Every person will be treated based on their own, integrity and separation of religion, whatever your religion is or belief is. And also the issue of women. 40 years ago, she introduced a platform, a 12-point platform, specifically on women, talking about absolute equal rights for them, but also about leadership. These were unheard of at the time, but I think people are realizing how crucial those issues are. And that those are very important gauges when you want to determine a society, a movement. And that's where the Iranian nation will be. Once Iran is free, Mayor, Iran will become the epicenter of democracy, freedom, and they will drive down the terrorism of the mullahs, because under the current regime, they are the head of the snake of war and terror in the region.
I'm thinking that the government that she would put together, if it's a reflection of the leadership of the MEK and the umbrella group, it's going to be a large number of women in government also.
Absolutely. 52% of the members of our parliament in exile are women, in addition to Mrs. Rajavi herself, acting as the president-elect of the Iranian resistance. And also, there's a whole history of women participation in the movement. They comprise a big bulk of those who have been killed by the Iran regime for political charges. And they carry the brunt of the resistance over the years. So that's why it's no accident during the uprisings in Iran since 2017, you have seen young women, young girls leading the fight. It just doesn't happen by itself. There was a culture of women participation, women leadership created by her movement, by Mrs. Rajavi and those who have been in the fight. So that would be a totally different Iran when you will see and think about the impact it will have in the whole region and the rest of the world.
Yeah, a tremendous impact it'll have. And we can talk about this separately. It'll have a whole impact on the entire Muslim movement and Islamic movement and how it's seen. And some of the fears of it will start to drop away, for women.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. God bless your efforts, my good friend. You're such a hero.
Thank you very much, Mayor. You are such a huge fighter.
We'll be back with you. I'm going to take you up on that Christmas thing.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
He's quite a man, Ali Reza. We have tremendous respect for him, as you know. So let's see if we can get through a whole bunch of the news here that I want to make sure you got, whether you listen to the other show or not, because a lot of stuff happened.
Mm-hmm.
There, I don't think we've brought up to you this growing scandal that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger of the Somalis who stole, they say, $1 billion out of the money that was intended for the Somali refugees. Now, this is a program that was administered by Tampon Tim, who is, in my view, somebody that should be thoroughly investigated, surely for this, but also I don't see how he wasn't a communist, Chinese communist agent. He went to China 30 times teaching. He was getting paid for it. He's getting paid by the Chinese government. He had a travel agency. He brought over 500 kids with him every year. And I'm going to tell you, I know Chinese communist government. They're not letting him come over there unless he's teaching what they want him to teach. I mean, this was an indoctrination operation. So, I mean, the time has come for us to really stop all the garbage with Tampon Tim. I don't know why we didn't go after him for being a communist, but he is. I don't know if he stole this money, but his handling of it was so damn incompetent. An awful lot of Somalis stole the money. And by the way, please find out for me. The president says that Ilhan Omar is not a citizen, and there is this thing about her brother.
Right.
But isn't that easily answered by looking at her documents? Has anybody? I've never seen her documents. Have you?
I have not.
Well, was she married to her brother? In which case, we take her citizenship away and we kick her back to Somalia.
Yeah.
She has no right to be a congressman. She doesn't have a right to be here. And she is sure a person who helps to foment violence against our ICE agents and people like that. I mean, you can say what you want about her, but she's got a big mouth and she's effective at fomenting violence. Venezuela is now surrounded by by the largest and the most lethal aircraft carrier in the world, 3 or 4 of the most incredibly complex ships in the world. It is way, way, way beyond what we would need to capture the entire country of Venezuela. I do not think we want to capture the entire country of Venezuela. We want Maduro to get the hell out, and we want, like we want for Iran, a democratic, decent government, honest government. And also one that isn't a handmaiden of China and Russia, which it is right now, and Iran. Now, it's not doing them much good because China and Russia, are they're searching everywhere to look for pennies, so they don't have much to give them. And Venezuela has never turned out to be a big moneymaker under a communist system or socialist system. Which, hey, kids, but this communism, socialism stuff, what do I have to do to show you that you're stupid? Every system they've put together has imploded. The reason China is not growing now and has real worries is because they can't command the people to do what they want at the efficiency level that they want it. And the efficiency level becomes important when we squeeze them the right way with tariffs, when we don't give them a free ride, which was a genius of Trump, which they all don't get. So I think we should do a 2 or 3 part program on socialism, communism, what it really is, not too scholarly, but kind of practically for young people.
Yeah.
Maybe as a Christmas gift.
That'd be a good one.
And maybe I can figure out a way
like
to
that.
do it in a simple format so you get it. Because once you get it, you realize what crap it is. Well, that's what's going on in Venezuela. We need them the hell out of there because they're sending drugs in here, making millions of dollars off that, killing our people. And they're also leaving us vulnerable to having a base for China or Russia right off our shore. And we're not going to let that happen. The Monroe Doctrine, you go look it up if you don't know it. Monroe Doctrine means something to President Trump. It didn't mean anything to the ones who wanted to give away our country. The reason that I think Somali came up, well, no, not really. I think that investigation was going on anyway. But you do have sort of a similar vetting issue here. That these people who come in, they're not vetted at all, and you see the horrible thing that happened in Washington, D.C. with a person who came in, wasn't vetted, somehow decided with the daily persuasion of one Democrat politician after another condemning the National Guard, condemning ICE, condemning anybody involved in federal enforcement of the immigration laws. It's like people come in illegally, that's bad enough. And then they're taught they're the victims. They come in illegally, and the poor people that have to get rid of them, and we have a fair country, are the bad guys.
Right.
But that's the Democrats. The Democrats are a party of criminals. Venezuela is closed right now. It is surrounded by the American military in numbers that I don't think anyone has ever seen. Just exactly what President Trump is going to do with it, we don't know yet. and we don't know what's going to happen in Ukraine. We have discussed that. I always like to give you the benefit of what I think is going to happen. And what I think is going to happen is a very, very weak opinion because there aren't any clear signs right now. I thought Rubio put out a sign when he said, we just can't let Ukraine have to go to war again. So that means there has to be a defensive structure built in that prevents war, which means that some of the things that Russia has tried to sneak in will have to go. Taking Donbass, splitting the army down to an unacceptable number, not allowing for an exception to gain more an army and double it, triple it if you're attacked. And I think that getting into NATO, I think we should fight for that, for the integrity of NATO. Who the hell is Russia to tell us who could be in NATO? Who shouldn't be in NATO? It's a second-rate failing country. If they didn't have atomic bombs, everybody would just go pee on them. I mean, nobody even wants their oil. All they did was extort people with oil all these years. Why do you think Germany, everybody thought Germany would have the hardest time freeing itself from Russia. But, and Germany is certainly not in great shape right now, but they are very happy to be free of Russia. Very, very happy. It's like dealing with gangsters. Honduras election. You check before we leave if there are any results. The conservative is ahead by a little. And that's important. The more conservative governments we have in Latin America, the more we can freeze them out, the more we don't have to do what we're doing with Venezuela. I think that the soldiers, ex-soldiers, and whatever they are, Congress people who told our American soldiers that they should not obey an unlawful order are among the biggest skunks and liars we have, because that sounds good, except it is so misleading that it could get those young men and women in trouble. Who knows what at the margins? Who knows if it's a lawful or unlawful order? And you don't have, there is no imperative in the military because of that you not follow it does say you cannot follow an unlawful order. It does say you have to follow your orders. So, boy, you're doing it at your own peril. You better be right.
Right.
And then we're going to have to stop. Wait, stop the war. Stop shooting. No more shooting. Wait, we got to call our lawyers. We got to call Jones and Jones. And they're not open right now. They're on the West Coast. So we'll be back for the rest of the war in about an hour. We'll know if it's legal or not. Don't you guys worry about that? We say to the Russians, the Chinese, the terrorists, and they say, no, go back, put your guns down and go back and check with your lawyers. And while we go back, they blow us up, kill us, destroy us, and say, what a bunch of jackasses.
You're right.
And all those guys were soldiers. This was written by Joshua Braver in the Wall Street Journal. In sum, the law's message is simple: obey, and you are likely protected. Disobey, you're going to get court-martialed. I think you should obey orders. I don't think anybody would give you an illegal order. The Giants have made a change, and I want to see how good you are in this, okay? I know you follow. The Giants, the Giants have changed, right? They're going to play the Patriots tonight, right?
Mm-hmm. They're playing right now.
Okay, so the Giants have a new defensive coordinator. And the new defensive coordinator is Charlie Bullen. Okay?
Okay.
Now, Shane Bowen was fired. Shane Bowen was fired last 2 weeks ago, right?
Yep.
And no, I'm sorry.
We're talking about the Giants.
No, Brian Dable was
Yeah,
fired.
the coach was fired.
Right. And then the new coach, Mike Kafka, removed the defensive coordinator, Shane Bowen,
Okay.
and he's replaced him with Charlie Bullen.
Okay.
So now the question is, will his defensive patterns be so different that it will confuse the Patriots?
Ah. Well, I can tell you right now, it's not.
Why?
17-7.
Patriots.
Patriots are winning, but it's the start of the second quarter, so plenty of game left.
Well, the Giants usually get close and then lose. So we'll have to see.
We'll be watching.
There's an article which I haven't had a chance to digest as much as I should before I report on it or give my opinion on it, by my good friend Miranda Devine, about the withering criticism of Kash Patel. And I really haven't followed it because I'm so confident in Kash. But this is not a panicker. This is an enormously solid, very solid person. About as solid as they get and about as good a reporter as there is. So we're going to have to take a good look at it. And I wanted to do a little checking on it before I commented on it, because I've got 3 good friends here involved, her and the director, and of course, Dan Bongino. Netflix wants to acquire, think about this now, Netflix wants to acquire Warner Brothers Studio and HBO streaming services. And they would then control, I don't know if they already control about 80% of it.
Right.
They just control streaming. You wouldn't be able to stream unless Netflix said you could stream. And if you wanted to stream something on Jesus Christ, they'd probably take it out on you, right? So the question is the government going to stand in its way with an antitrust case?
Huh. We'll have to stay tuned.
It would seem to me that it's an almost obvious one. They're going to take over the entire market.
Right.
I don't think this has anything to do. Darrell Issa, who's as solid as they come, wrote to Bondi saying that, and to the head of the antitrust division, Netflix currently wields unequal market power, adding both HBO's Max subscribers and Warner Brothers premier content rights would further enhance this position. So they may try to block it and break it up. I hope they do.
That's a big one.
I hope they do. The more competition, always the better. Always, 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 always the better. There's a real sense growing in America, and I don't know if it's at majority level yet or not, that in many, many cases, college is not helpful, maybe harmful, and certainly not worth it. That's terrible. That's terrible. They've done it to themselves. They've done it to themselves. And we've got to find another way, though, if we're not going to do it through colleges or whatever, that the basic wisdom and traditions and values of our civilization are passed on in an intellectually honest way. If we're going to do away with education, but I agree, 70 to 90,000 a year, so your kid can learn about the 57 genders is not exactly what most Americans are going to want to pay for, right?
Right.
So I'll tell you, The U.S. attorney in New York, who happens to have the position I had in Southern District, New York, Jay Clayton, says he's warned Mayor-elect Zoran Mondami not to undermine the NYPD's preventive policing. Now, Mondami is against preventive policing, and he's also against a unit that's used for that, which also has to be used for terrorism. And the U.S. attorney has made a pretty strong statement that he better not do that, and that the U.S. attorney, is on certain weeks we are positioning our attorneys in precincts around the city where we have the most violent gun-toting crimes. We charge suspects federally if we can, because there is a greater likelihood of detention. And if we're able to prove the case, they're going to get and serve much longer sentences. Well, deja vu all over again. This is exactly what I did with the Federal Day program in 1983. I one day a week, I sent the drug enforcement agents and my assistants, and we went down to the Lower East Side and we cleaned out the drugs on the Lower East Side. And then we moved to other places around the city. And it helped to develop the drug strategy that I used when I became mayor, when I had the resources to tie together the federal government and the U.S. Attorney's Office. It would be far better for New York if the federal government worked with the police. I didn't appreciate the police commissioner basically lecturing ICE about the way they carried on their arrests of the people who are illegal aliens. I mean, ICE could lecture the New York City Police Department where they carry on arrests. Arrests are inherently difficult and dangerous. They should be on each other's side. And as long as New York City continues to remain a sanctuary city, I don't understand how that's not illegal. I really don't. And somebody should be made a test case out of it. The president should give him warning and say, I'm going to enforce the federal law, and I'm going to put you bums in jail if you continue the sanctuary city stuff, because you're obstructing federal law. And give him 20 days and then just go arrest him.
Right.
It's got to be stopped. You cannot allow them. And we're going to get more of our people killed if we do this. The police aren't supporting them.
Bizarre.
And you don't know with all the training the police have gotten, the DEI training, and you don't know if they're like the old time cops. You know,
Right.
It's like when they said to me when I talked about, the guys aren't acting like SEALs. They said they're Obama SEALs.
Yeah. So,
well, we'll be back tomorrow night. We're going to send you over to Dr. Maria, who's got a great show, and tomorrow we'll see what happens in Ukraine, because I think there's going to be a meeting between Witkoff and Putin tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And who knows, so much else going on, moving along that you need to know all sides of, which we'll bring to you. Now, go to our podcast. You can catch up on the two that are there. There'll be a third one tomorrow. We're going to do the podcast involving the interview of Charlie Kirk and Fuentes in 3 parts. So this will be the second part, and then there'll be a third part, and it'll give you the raw material from which you can make your own judgment about what you think of his level of criticism of Israel, the Jewish people, anti-Semitism, Jewish hatred. It doesn't involve that, but at least you'll have most of you won't have all the raw material. It'd be impossible to do that. It would take days. But you'll get most of the raw material. So, and then we'll have a chance to discuss it even more. So you go to X, go to @Rudy Giuliani at X.
Yep.
Just press subscribe, and you got that, and you've got the first volume of Michael Francis, and there'll be a second one of that too. So, welcome to Advent as we lead up to Christmas. Pray for the people of Israel and the people of Ukraine. Pray for the people of Iran, we spoke about today. Pray for our people and pray for our president. So he has the wisdom to guide us through these difficult times. And God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it.